Good morning. Back on here again. Finally got some time to handle a couple things. So today, I got a couple different deals going on. One on another project you're going to get introduced to. Let's just go ahead and call this episode 1 on my quest for 8s and a quarter with a Monte Carlo that I have. Today we're going to be working on the brakes for that car. It's Wilwood drag race front brakes. It's pretty basic. Give you a quick rundown on how to put these brakes on the stock spindle. So basically, this is how your spindle starts. Obviously, I took the caliper off, rotor's off, backing plate is off, but this is what you're going to start with. And this is what you're going to end up with. It's somewhere around 50 to 60 pounds is what you lose off the nose of the car by going to this setup. So let's get going. All right, so the first thing you got to do is, we don't need this. This is for the stock caliper. So basically we need to cut this off. Then we're going to drill and tap these holes, because this is what actually holds your new plate for your caliper hanger. So let's get that going. So just show you quick here. There's where we're at. So now the next thing we're going to do, these 3 holes, you got 3 holes here. We got to drill those out. Your kit will tell you what size you need. This uses a 3/8 fine thread, so it's a really odd size drill bit. We're going to use 21/64. It works. Be careful. The material for this is not the hardest, so your drill bit will really bite in and then you'll break your drill bit. And these are not the easiest size to find for the 3/8 fine thread. So be aware of that. Take your time, or you'll be breaking drill bits and be dead in your tracks. This is some used rear end grease. You can use your cutting oil of choice. Mine is whatever's slick and close, so I don't have to walk far. All right, so this hole's all the way through. It's already like that. This hole and this hole back here are not. This hole, you don't really have to drill past how deep it is already. This hole at the top, you're gonna have to go deeper because the bolt is too long. Well, I'll say it's too long. The hole needs to be deeper so the bolt can go down in there to seat the plate. So now we got that out of the way. Tap the holes, and then we can start putting our kit on. So it's 3/8 fine thread, like I said. Get you a tap. Okay. Ratchet right there. So I actually have a square drive socket. There's a few people that make these. They're actually for pipe plugs, but they work great for taps. They're nice to have. If you don't have this, you can actually use a 12-point socket on your square drive for your tap. Same thing, just gonna put a little lube in the hole. Try to get it as straight as possible. And we're just gonna send her home. So I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, but there is a Sunday morning service going on. So if you hear the singing and extra noise, that's what's going on. I know someone out there is watching me tap this hole and they're just losing it. Don't worry, it'll be fine. When you tap your holes, you can do it the way you want. There we go. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna have to blow the shavings out of these other two holes. I will at least do that. Oh yeah. Okay, so we have all of our holes drilled, tapped out. Well, damn. I went ahead and removed the steering stop. We're not gonna need that. I'm doing a TRZ rack conversion. You guys can see that in a later video. Got this cut off. I mean, you could definitely go in here and clean this up if you wanted to, if you were worried about that kind of stuff. Honestly, I'm kind of on a time crunch. Okay, so this is your new caliper bracket. And so how it bolts on is you'll have two spacers this size here, and then you have one washer that goes here. Let's see if I can get in there so you can see it. There's the washer, here's the spacer. Here's the spacer on this side. You can kind of get a look in there and see what it looks like. So we're just gonna continue on. So the next step is going to be, we can build the hub, which consists of putting the adapter and the rotor on the actual hub. Then we will pack bearings. There's one more modification that you got to do, and I'll show you that real quick. this is your hub. These unscrew. So this is a little bit smaller than the factory dust cap. So what happens is this factory washer doesn't fit inside this. So you have to grind this washer down so that it'll actually fit inside this dust cap. Nice. We'll pretend like that didn't happen. I shall return. All right, let's see how good I did. Damn it. Yep, I think that'll work. It's in there, so it's still a little toasty. We're gonna let that cool off for a minute while we do a couple other things. So so we need to bolt this to this. Oh wait, before we do that, gotta put the wheel studs in. So, tip on these wheel studs, this hub has two bolt patterns. It has a 5 on 4.5 bolt pattern and a 5 on 4 3/4. So G bodies have 5 on 4 3/4. The nice thing about this hub though is if you had like a 5 lug swapped 8.8 out of a Mustang and it had factory bolt pattern, those are 5 on 4.5, so you could, not have to have two different wheels. You could have the same bolt pattern front and rear. But anyway, another tip on these is you cannot put these studs in with like an impact, or like when I say put them in, like try to run them down, because the aluminum will like galled up and you'll be messing up your new threads and your shiny new hub. Learned that lesson. So we're gonna run these most of the way in, then I'll put a little bit of Loctite on them and drive them home with an impact. I'm sure there's a torque spec, but I'm not gonna use it. So there you go. Okay, wheel studs are in. Did exactly what I said I was gonna do. Run these down, left about 1/4 inch or so out. Put a little dab of blue Loctite on there, run them home with the impact. So the next step is, this is the adapter for your rotor, which takes these fasteners. So what we're gonna do is take these fasteners, a little bit of Loctite, send them home, set the brake rotor on, a little bit of Loctite, rinse and repeat. Brake rotor will be on. We could pack the wheel bearing, hammer the seal in, throw it on the spindle, and at that point we'll basically be, for the most part, done. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out, and we're almost there to having some nice lightweight brakes on the front. And then a little dab will do ya. Boy, I got crickets, people doing stuff. Got some good church going on in the background. You know, it's just a fine day here in America. It's not the right hole, it's this hole. It's this hole. Let's just check it. See if y'all are paying attention. Okay. Oh, there it goes. It's gone. What size were those? Were they 45s? 45s? Is that what it is? Oh, nailed it. Okay, send these on. Okay, now we need the brake rotor. Okay, so on this brake rotor, it's not the same on both sides. There's a flat side and then this side is kind of recessed. So this actually goes, but if you look at these fingers, it's like a chamfer right here. So in the directions, it clearly shows you which direction this goes. This hat also has an offset. It also clearly shows you which direction the offset goes for this hat. That's just something to be mindful of when you're putting this kit together. So on the G-body, the recess will go toward the inside, or if you're putting it together, it'll go up like this. Then we need these fasteners here. So these fasteners are actually drilled for safety wire. That's your choice on whether or not you want to do that. I'm just going to use some Loctite. I'm going to throw all that on the ground, because why not? So on these bolts here, they're a little bit tiny. They are going into aluminum. Probably not going to send these home with the impact. I'll probably run them down with this, with the impact, and then just hold it and snug them up with the ratchet. Now they do provide the torque specs and the directions, but I went to public school, so I don't read very well. Anyway, we're just gonna give it the old good and tight, and yeah, that'll be good. I feel good about it. What about you? I got a ratchet up here with a 1/2 inch on it somewhere. Oh, found it. Okay. Get it up here. Put it in the old. All right. That seems good and tight. I'll tell you what. Right there, buddy. It's good looking. Just does something for me. All right, got a couple more parts to get out of here. Don't need this just yet. Okay, so you're gonna have your seal, inner bearing, and your outer bearing. Set these right here. I'm going to show you a tool. So if you mess with tapered roller bearing, wheel bearings that need to be packed, this tool right here saves you so much time. You can pick them up for 30 bucks. Parts stores have them, tool trucks have them. It's called a wheel bearing packer. It's full of grease. Packing wheel bearings is a nasty job, but has to be done. Drop your bearing in there, and then So as you can see, it squishes the grease into the bearing. That's where you want your grease at in your wheel bearings. Not smeared around the outside. Inside, that's where you want it. So once it does that, you can take it out, and there'll be some good extra grease in there. Now you can smear it around the outside. Smear it around there. Do a nice little bit there on there like that. And then you can put some on the race in there. Okay, now that's in there. Here we go. Clean your hammer up so that you don't knock foreign debris into your new grease. And then you just give her a little tap tap. You hear that nice solid noise? That means your seal is in there nice and flush. So you can kind of see what we got going on there. And you just take this guy here. We're coming back right there. All right. Rinse and repeat with the wheel bearing packer on the outer bearing. You can see clearly where it's squished the grease through. That's what's important. Seat your bearing in there. Okay, now we need our washer that we modified. So this washer goes on here. Need your castle nut. Make sure it's clean. So we're going to run this home. Now, anytime you're messing with bearings like this, you're going to want to tighten it down to kind of seat the bearings to make sure they're fully seated onto the spindle. So what you're going to do is run it down tight, and then you're going to back the nut off to typically to the next closest hole to get the cotter pin through. So that's tight. You see it still spins, but we're going to go past that, and you'll feel the friction when you spin this. And see, it's hard to turn, and then you back it up. We're actually going to go a little bit more. Okay, now we got a hole lined up for our cotter pin for our castle nut. Our hub spin's getting free. We should be good to go. We can actually go, we could probably stand to go just a hair more. We're actually gonna go right there. Put our cotter pin in. Okay. Now we can clean this up. Not like it's that crucial. but you did spend, if you bought these and you're watching this video, these aren't the cheapest brakes in the world, so I do want it to look somewhat good. So when you put this back on, this screws on, just hand tight's plenty good. You want to spin this and make sure your carter pin, your washer, nothing is hitting this cap that could unscrew it or potentially unscrew the nut and your wheel fall off. All right, we'll call that good. So now we can move on to putting the caliper on. Now, Wilwood does send shims that you can use to put behind your castle nut. So they go between the first washer and your castle nut so that you can actually get preload because of differences in the spindles. You might need to use those washers to get your preload correct. So they do actually have some forethought for that. All right, now we're gonna put the caliper on. So on these calipers, they actually got 4-corner bleed on them. So really what that means is this caliper can be left, right, front, back. It's a very universal caliper. But what is important is that the rotor is centered up in the caliper. Now it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. You can eyeball it. That's kind of how I've always went, never had an issue. But they do send shims so you can get this caliper as centered as possible onto the brake rotor. There's that one started. All right, so I had a 9/16 out here. Found it. I'll run that home. Damn it. All right, we're gonna slide these brake pads in. So these brake pads, they just use a carter pin. I put mine through from the outside. You can put it through however you want. All right. So there you go. See if I can hold the camera steady enough. It's pretty centered in there. That's what you want your carter pin to look like. And that's how you put drag brakes on a G-body.